Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Playbook for Leaders and Entrepreneurs. Today, I have a very special guest, someone I deeply admire and I've learned a lot from. It's an honor to introduce one of my elder cousin brothers, Shivank Taksali. Brother, thank you so much for joining us today and sharing your playbook for success with us.
Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. Let's set the scene for this episode with this question. What does gratitude mean to you?
It's a great question, brother. Um, for me, gratitude is it's one of the habits that I've cultivated over the last few years, and I love starting my morning routine. Essentially includes writing three things down that I'm grateful for every morning. So I have a journal dedicated towards gratitude. It's kind of like recording actually what you've been grateful for, and there's something powerful about like writing it down like with pen and paper as opposed to even just like putting it on a phone or just thinking it in a way it kind of like it captures it, and like it freezes that moment. I think having an attitude of gratitude makes you focus on what you already have versus focusing on the things that you don't. It helps set the tone for the rest of the day.
Does it help you be more positive and happy throughout the day?
Yeah, absolutely. Because I think you're already training your brain to look through the world in that lens. And I tend to typically when I open the journal in the morning, I also do this in the evening. Um, Separate journal called where I do like the 1-1-1 method. So I do like one win, one point of tension, and then one thing I'm grateful for. So it's nice to have to like start the day like that and end the day both with gratitude.
Nice. Let's talk about your work life. Please, could you give us more insights into your previous work experience and personal life so our listeners can get to know you a little bit more?
Yeah, sure thing. So I grew up in Belgium, and our dads are brothers. So I've been got a chance to like visit you every summer, and then after I graduated from high school, I moved to the U.S. So I've been in the States for like almost 10 years now. It's been over 10 years. And I studied in Boston at Northeastern University, um, focusing primarily on entrepreneurship, marketing, and studying abroad in Asia. And then that brought me to um, I started working on like in startups, both in Boston, and then I moved to New York. So I really discovered my passion for helping startups grow, and like building relationships across the entrepreneurship ecosystem. I was really active on campus. I joined the Entrepreneurs Club. I used to go on retreats to Costa Rica to help lead workshops on building businesses for students across the country, as well as even like sharing more holistically how to be the CEO of your own life, so not just building a business, but also like yoga and meditation and like building sustainable habits. It was very, um, it was huge for me, like getting that experience, like coming to the US and discovering more about like mindfulness.
You mentioned meditation. How can meditation help leaders be more mindful and present throughout the day?
Great question, Sidhu. I think mindfulness essentially it it allows you to like pause and give yourself like even 10 minutes of stillness before. In today's modern society, we're getting notifications, pings, work messages throughout the day. We're pulled in so many different directions. So even spending 10 minutes to meditate um, can help you like can be very grounding. Focus on your breath, and it actually like it helps to rewire your brain a little bit over time. You'll see the benefits over time. It's not like an overnight thing. Um, but over the more you consistently show up to meditate, the more your brain is like becoming less and less reactive, which is what humans as Homo sapiens are. We're programmed to be reactive because that helped us survive, from an evolutionary standpoint. But now we've evolved where we're not getting chased by a bear, so we don't need to be so reactive. Um, and with all these technological devices, it's actually like not serving us, right? Um, in fact, social media probably like is designed around those impulses to like check our phones and do all that. So I think meditation helps taking a step back from all of that.
Meditation is definitely a game changer. Have you heard about this book called The Way of the Seal?
I think you may have mentioned it.
Yeah, I recently finished reading that, and it mentions a very simple meditation technique called box breathing. So for our listeners who are new to meditation, they could start with this perhaps. So it is count of four, you breathe in, you hold for
Oh
four,
yeah,
and you breathe out for four.
yeah,
So it's easy to start with, and I did this before the recording, so it really helped me calm down and stay focused.
nice.
By the way, brother, you have your own newsletter, right?
I recently launched it on Substack a couple years ago. I just launched the 20th edition just went out, and I just hit 200 subscribers, which was my goal for the end of 2024.
Nice, and so I'll link your newsletter on the show notes as well, so our followers can
Yeah,
subscribe to
definitely.
it as well.
Everyone, check it out. Subscribe below.
I read one of your articles. I mean, I've read all of them, but one in particular I want to ask you about, which was based on a concept from the book Atomic Habits by James Clear. You mentioned about marginal improvement. So I want to ask you, what is marginal improvement, and how can leaders apply this to learn new skills and become better leaders?
Yeah, so James Clear is like a really great author. He wrote Atomic Habits. I've been reading his newsletter since I was in high school. So even before he published Atomic Habits, he used to have a newsletter that
Oh, okay.
he used to send it out like twice a week. And I've even emailed him being like, this great newsletter, and he's replied to me saying like, thanks for the feedback. So it's cool. I have a little email exchange with James. And now he's now like a best-selling author. But through his book, I learned like about becoming 1% better every day, and how that like it
Mhm.
might sound small, but it compounds over time. Like I actually have the chart like hung up in my room on the power of tiny gains.
Okay.
It's like it shows a curve of like getting 1% better every day versus 1% worse. Um, and it's like over 1 year, if you're getting 1% better every day, that's you're seeing exponential gains. Even if you want to say do start small by doing 10 minutes of meditation, but then you increase it slowly, every day. So then you're gonna end up like by the end of a year, you're gonna get that much
Mhm.
better at that craft.
You also shared a video of James Clear of 2025, setting goals for 2025, where he shares the goal is not to read 40 books, but to build a habit to read. The goal is not to hit the gym
Exactly.
and get big, but to start
Yeah,
getting the habit of going. What's your take on that?
that really clicked for me. It's about identity shift. It's not about saying
Hmm.
um, like yeah, I need to read 50 books, but more like if you just switch that narrative to I'm someone who reads. So you just approach every day
Mm.
as like, okay, I'm gonna incorporate this into my life. Not like I need to lift 30 pounds in the gym, but or you just think of it as like I'm someone who lifts heavy. Or um yeah, like instead of being I need to write this many articles, like you can just say I'm a writer. Um and that way, that identity shift is more like it's more focused on the habit itself rather than the outcomes.
Love that. Share a quote that inspires you and why.
I think one of the most inspiring quotes to me is by Muhammad Ali, where he says,
Hmm.
"Service to others is the rent you pay for your room here on earth." And another one is, "A smooth sea never made a skilled sailor." I think about that a lot, a lot, especially if things are like challenging. You're looking for a way to understand like life is happening for you, not to you. Like there's always
And
something
why?
to learn from that.
And why? Yeah, nice. And why do you like the Muhammad Ali quote? What's so special about that?
That one, I just feel like it really resonates in terms of like we've received certain opportunities because of our parents to pursue education, travel abroad, like
Hmm.
have all these experiences. So it's like, how do you take that and like pay it forward? Like give back to the community, whether it's like volunteering or um funding like nonprofits. So I really try to like look for ways to give back as well, whether it's through my time or money.
Nice. From whom have you learned leadership and entrepreneurship lessons?
So I'm a big fan of sports storytelling, and I
Hmm.
recently read 11 Rings by Phil Jackson. He coached Michael Jordan's Bulls, so he won 6 championships with them, and then he went on to coach like Kobe and Shaq, and won 5 rings with the Lakers. So he has 11 rings as a coach and 2 more as a player when he played for the Knicks in the 70s. But Phil Jackson's approach to coaching is not like he makes everyone focus on like their purpose on the team, like how they can play their role for the good of the team. You know, like so
Mm-hmm.
he introduced techniques like meditation to like the Chicago Bulls practice, and I'm sure the players were
Really?
skeptical at first, but then they saw what Phil was trying to. He was trying to teach them the spiritual aspect of the game of basketball. You know, not just like the X's and O's, and I mean he was good at that too, but he found a way to make players really believe in each other, and that's why they probably won all these championships. Like, you know, no team has gone on a three-peat twice like that. It helps to have a player like Michael Jordan, but still, Coach Phil Jackson really understood you're dealing with these huge egos like Kobe and Shaq, and how do you get these players um to buy into, like, you know, the philosophy of the team, and um make sacrifices, and yeah. So his book is really has like it's full of like leadership lessons, I think.
What's the key takeaway from that book that you're going to apply to your work life?
Um, I think Phil Jackson has like plenty of takeaways, but I think one of them is definitely to focus on, like, it's not just about like wins and losses, but it's more about the process. I think Kobe understood this as well. Like, you know, you show up, you put in the work, and then you can live with whatever the outcomes will be. And I think that applies
Mm-hmm.
both like personally and professionally.
Nice. And one of our favorite shows on Netflix is definitely The Last Dance. So, anything you want to share that you really like from Last Dance, or any key mindset tips or tricks that you have learned from Last Dance that you would like to share?
Yeah, I mean, The Last Dance, I think, showed MJ's insane competitive spirit. Sometimes I'm not sure if I resonate with that mindset fully.
Mm-hmm.
I see how it served him, but you know, I think there's still, I think you can still be like a good teammate, um, and still have that competitive drive. Like, I think Steph Curry is an example of someone who like leads by example, and
Mm-hmm.
still, I don't think he's like displaying that level of like what Michael shows in that show. Like, he really has to like, you know, cutthroat mentality. Like, I think in today's NBA, I respect players like Giannis and Luka and Steph, who clearly are motivated to like be the best.
Mm-hmm.
And still they find ways to like be a good teammate and have fun and not take themselves too seriously, which I think MJ probably did that a little bit, you know, but that led to his success as well.
Great answer. What piece of storytelling has inspired you?
I really enjoyed the memoir by Bob Iger. So he was the sixth CEO of
Mm-hmm.
the Walt Disney Company. And he wrote, you know, a memoir called The Ride of a Lifetime. And
Mm-hmm.
I read this, I think, during the pandemic, and I even wrote a blog post about it with my favorite quotes from the book. And he really was great about like building relationships, especially because he all the acquisitions he made while holding the top job at Disney, the Mouse House, they acquired like Pixar from Steve Jobs, they acquired Marvel, so he made these investments that like were huge for the brand. Um, so that was cool to see like how he was really strategic about like thinking how Disney can succeed in the 21st century, and technology wise as well, like launching Disney Plus was huge, especially the timing when everyone was like in lockdown. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, 21st Century Fox, Lucasfilm, that from Star Wars, all the intellectual property like that they got as a result has been huge for them. You know, like to think about um, Marvel success with Black Panther and
Mm-hmm.
all these franchises. So I think that was huge.
You also mentioned you love the book Shoe Dog. Any key lessons you like to share from that book?
Yeah, Shoe Dog is huge. It's a personal favorite of mine, one of my all-time favorite books that I've ever read.
And can you share what is the book based on briefly
Yeah,
for our listeners?
it's sure thing. It's Shoe Dog is Phil Knight's memoir. He's the founder, and creator of Nike,
Mm-hmm.
and it's essentially his entire journey from like selling shoes out of the back of his car, you know, at like track and field meets, to Nike becoming this, you know, huge billion-dollar industry leader, right? And I think
Mm-hmm.
Adidas existed even before Nike, and Nike was initially like Phil Knight was working with Onitsuka Tiger in Japan, and then he ended up having to like find his own supplier, and yeah, this is the story of like how he knew you know wanted to do something that was a bit more aligned with like his purpose. Um,
Hmm.
he wasn't just gonna like become an accountant or something like that. And he actually named the brand Nike after the goddess of victory, Athena Nike. So in Greece, and that book he also mentions. I think he took almost like a world trip before founding the company, and that included going to
Hmm.
Japan. So
Okay.
it meant a lot when I got to visit Japan as well. Like I was really thinking through the lens of Phil Knight and Shoe Dog, and all the lessons that like he mentions in the book.
Share maybe one or two lessons that if you can remember.
Essentially, it was like we're always on offense. There's also a movie called Air, that came out recently, and it's based on Phil Knight, played by Ben Affleck, and Matt Damon plays Sonny Vaccaro, who's the guy at Nike who signed Michael Jordan. He got them to like
Mm.
essentially decide like let's sign this guy. He hadn't played a single minute in the NBA yet, but he saw something in him that they were like, we need to invest in this player, and probably that's the best decision, like one of the best decisions Nike has made to this date.
What one habit you advise our listeners should take up in 2025?
I'd say we've already mentioned gratitude journaling and meditation. I think those are two really good ones. Um,
Hmm.
I think if it's not for that, maybe the first few minutes when you wake up, like first 5 minutes, try and like not reaching for your phone, um, focusing on your breathing, taking in the day before you reach for your nearest screen, and you're already before you start scrolling, you're inundated with all this information. So I would say that's pretty huge. Like maybe just put your feet on the floor first, like get moving a little bit before you reach for your phone. I'm gonna try doing that more in 2025. Just if I'm using my phone as my alarm, just turning off my alarm, but like not necessarily picking it up, because then you never know. The next half an hour goes by and you're still scrolling.
Hmm. Yeah.
So yeah, that would be my advice, especially like digital natives, like young people. Our screen time is, I think, a little higher than we want it to be. So I think that starts with the mornings of like how we start your day, and even in the evening when you want to wind down, get ready to sleep. No screens in the last half an hour. If you're just reading a book, I think that's a good way to like ease into like closing the day as well.
Nice. Tell me more details about how can someone start the 1:1:1, the journal technique that you mentioned. Go into more
Um,
details so we understand
yeah.
how could we
So
do it.
so every single evening at the end of your work day, you can open up a journal, or a digital tool or application, whatever you prefer, and you can write down these
Hmm.
three simple points: one win from the day, one point of tension, anxiety, or stress. And sometimes it helps like actually writing that down, so then your mind can like instead of storing it here, you can store it there, and then move on from it.
Hmm.
And then one point of gratitude. So the whole process doesn't even take like 5 minutes. Although you can spend more time if you'd like, if you're feeling inspired, but I think the method works because of its simplicity. Like
Hmm.
the one win allows you to appreciate like the progress you've made in a single day. Um, and the tension can be like therapeutic to get it off on paper. And the gratitude just allows you to reflect on, the most important things in your life.
Nice.
Yeah, man.
Final question before we wrap up.
Sure.
Who would be your dream guest, dead or alive, and what would you discuss with them?
That's a great question. Past or present, I think first and foremost would be our grandparents, Dada
Yeah.
Dadi. I think we never got to meet them, so like it would be awesome to get to like um have them as a that would be my dream guest first and foremost. And then I would say Nelson Mandela, fought uh for freedom in South Africa, and the 44th U.S. President Barack Obama, and probably Muhammad Ali. Those three would be dream goats of like dinner guests.
And you also read the memoir of Barack Obama, right? Any key
Did
learnings that you would like to share from that book?
Yeah, Barack wrote Promised Land, which is essentially it's volume one of his presidential memoir. So that's covering his first 4 years as president. Um,
Hmm.
And it's just crazy, the amount of things that like you have to deal with as a world leader, when it comes to like dealing with crises or managing relations with like foreign leaders. He wrote a lot like about like working with India as well. At the time when he was first elected, he worked with Indian Prime Minister Manmohan Singh, who just passed away actually. And Barack had really fond words for him for his honesty. He was a soft-spoken guy, but he was always super honest. I'm reading this, like you're getting a first-hand reflection on like these moments between world leaders. So I think that's really special.
Nice. Thank you so much for joining us today. It's been
Of
a
course.
pleasure. For all our listeners, I will link Shivank's newsletter and all his social media handles in the show notes so you can follow him. And make sure you follow his newsletter because that will help you be a better leader for sure. And make sure you follow the show and leave us a review because that will help me bring more interesting guests like Shiv on the podcast. And if you're listening to this on YouTube, please comment below what's your key takeaway from this episode. Thank you so much for listening, everyone. Brother, it's been a pleasure, like
Thanks,
always.
brother.
Thank you.